Okay, I'm going to walk you through taking your first year joinery project from the simplified version to the final version. You'll have a little work to do on your own, but I'm going to show you a few things here. We're going to try this instead of just me talking to the whole class. So you should have this, and this should be pretty easy from the simplified version. And if I click on one of them over here, it should have the name of it, A and B, C. Notice everything turns blue, which means I have it as a component. Over here, component, D, component, and E. So that's where we should be from the simplified version. Now, how do we go from this to the final version? Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my window that shows our 5th hour classroom here. And I redid this assignment for the final thing so that it popped up at the top of your stream. And so if I now click on this, and here's your assignment that we've kind of talked about. So I'm going to open up the PDF that gives me the dimensions that we need to go to make our pieces. So I'm going to start with A, and we need to put a little bit of an angle here. So now let's go back to our drawing. The only change I need to make is that angle. So in order to change a component, I have to double click it and so that it opens up like this. And then you need to have your large tool set here. If you don't have this, we go up to View, Toolbars, and where it says Large Tool Set, you need to have this box checked. We want that checked so that these tools are on the left-hand side of your screen. And then we have what's called the Protractor tool. We want to kind of position our Protractor tool so that it's on that corner, facing green, okay? And right now it's telling me that I need to, if I look at the bottom, align the bottom of a protractor just like I would in real life. So I'm going to align my bottom protractor. I already clicked in this corner. I'm going to align the bottom now by clicking there. And now it says to define my guide angle, which is going to be 45 degrees. So I hit 45 on my keyboard and then enter. And it gives me a guideline at 45 degrees. And now there's a couple of ways to do this. You can do either one that you prefer. I can come in here with the line tool, make that a real line, and pull the corner out of there, and now I have my 45 degree piece. The other way to do that is, and I'm going to step back a few times, undo that, undo my line, is to actually take my selector tool, grab this line, which you can't really see that I have it selected. There you can a little bit, I guess. And then I'm going to move it. So then I switch to my move tool. Grab that. I'm going to slide back the red axis until it hits that line. And now I'm at 45 degrees as well. Okay, then we'll get our eraser tool and get rid of that guideline. And now part A has been changed. So if I go back and look at this, part A is done. So now let's, I'll let you do part C on your own. It's basically the exact same process. You just make the angle down here. Part B is a little bit more tricky, so let's do that one together. So it has two angles, okay, and maybe there's a zoomed in view. I think I attached a zoomed in view. Here we go. Here's a zoomed in view of part B. Okay, so I need to have my there's a couple ways to do it. We need to get this rectangle out of there, and I need to be careful. So where it says 6 inches here into this line, that's after I make the angle. I could use this number, which is from the very end of it, which is 7 1/4. Either way you want to do it, but basically we need to have 1 1/4 inches in here in the middle. So there are several ways to do this. I'm just going to go through the easiest one, and I'm going to do this fast. So you already know how to make your 45 degree angles. So I'm just going to go through those quick. Click once in the center. Click there, 45, enter. And I'm going to use the line tool for these. Pull the corners out. Double click to remember it. You erase the guidelines. There's that. Okay, my corners are done. So now let's get here. I can go 6 inches in and 6 inches in from these new lines. So, tape measure tool. I'm going to parallel line up. 6, enter. 6, enter, and we should have an 1.25 inches from here to here. And we do. That's what we want to see. Okay? So now I'm going to make a rectangle that goes from intersection to intersection. And how deep do we have to push that? Right there it says 5/8 of an inch. Come back here, grab my push-pull tool, 5-8, there's 5/8 of an inch. Erase my guide tools. Part B is done. Remember, I'm going to let you do C on your own. Let's take a look at part D. Here is part D. You could look at this as well for part D if you want. I just kind of prefer the zoomed in view here with some more dimensions. So let's start on the bottom, okay? We have a rectangle that's 1.25 inches going all the way across, and it gets pushed in. It doesn't say it on this drawing, but here we can see this number right there. Right here, it says 1/4 inch. So I double click it to be able to edit it. Let's do a tape measure tool, up 1.25, a rectangle tool to that new line. So that then was from 3 to 1.25 inches. And I'm going to push-pull that in 0.25. Get rid of my guideline. That part's done. And now let's go to our zoomed in view here. We have 1.25 inches cut out, and it's going to go half exactly to the middle of this. And if the full width of this piece is 3 inches, to get to the middle right here is going to be 1.5 inches. So 6 inches down from the top. Then 1.25 inches. And we should be left with 7.25 inches all the way to the bottom. Let's check to see that we are. So to there is 6, and we already know that from here to here is 1.25 inches. And so add those up, 7.25 inches, and we are at our number right there. Okay. So now it gets a little bit, not necessarily tricky, but again, this is on the back side of that. So let's look at this. So it comes off the back, this corner that we're going to cut out. So what we're going to do now is come in here exactly half. So that's 1.5. Fill that in with a rectangle, and I'm going to push-pull it to this back edge so that it comes out of there. Okay, then I'm going to delete all of my guidelines with my eraser tool. And now part D is edited, right? And the last thing I need to do is change this one. And so we're going to do that in a very similar way. We come in 1.25 inches here. Okay, so that accounts for the thickness of this piece. And then we want to go to half again this way, so 1.5 this way. And now to have this fit in here, I actually want to take out this front corner. So then I'm just going to fill that in, push-pull that rectangle out. There's that piece. Let's erase our guidelines, close our part. Okay, and so now we're ready to kind of put this together here. And you already did this on your own, I think. Whoops, I missed there with my line. Got to make sure I get that intersection. Now, moving things together. You can move any part you want first, but I want these to come together. The only tricky thing about moving parts, and I select it first, I get my move tool, is think about which points you want to come together. This point is going to touch this point. Or think about this point coming together with this point. So however I move it, I just want to make sure I select it right on the point that I want to come together with this. And I might have to do a little bit of wiggling to get it to kind of intersect with part B. So there's those come together now. Now I can move this one. And in this case, this corner out here is going to come together with this corner here. So I select it by that. I'm going to slide it in. and make sure everything's coming together nicely. And now, same thing as I did before, I'm going to grab it by this corner so that it recognizes that corner, and everything's coming together real nice. And then let's move this one. This one's a little bit trickier still. So if I think about this piece, right here in this corner, right there, is where that corner is going to go. So I select it by that corner and move it in place till it goes to that first corner I looked at. And now everything has come together and I am all set. So then I would go up here, File, Save to update it, and I'm good to go.